This is the Spinner Rack.
Welcome everybody to the Spinner Rack. We have the whole crew is here. We got Petey and Kyle. We're here together. Last again, guys. Look, today we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel. Did we love it? Did we hate it? Once again, just giving you a heads up, this is a spoiler review. We're going to give you the whole cheese, the whole clue, everything.
We're the spoiler rack right now.
So I'm telling you right now, we're not doing any of that little, oh, we're going to save it. Guess what? She wins. She kicks ass. This is a great movie. Ladies and gents, I'm going to pass it on to Cal. Petey, what do you think?
I think, he used my line already because we kind of had some technical difficulties. But basically, this is a kick-ass movie because she kicks ass the entire movie. I think that the movie was missing a bit, so that's why I have to give this an okay. But ultimately, it's going in too much in, but I'm going to just give that my overview is that it's an okay movie. It's very action-packed, but it's just missing one other element, and maybe it's I think the climax could be a little better, even though they have a very visual climax.
So we're going to get into that. Give me your quick overview. What do you think of this movie, other than being 100% fantastic?
Yeah, other than that, it was okay. I have to agree with Petey when it comes to that. But that's pretty much been the line, the barometer from everybody that I've just talked to about the movie. It's pretty much been everybody thought the movie was okay, and they thought that it was a solid movie. And the underlining sentiment that I got from everybody is that they really didn't enjoy it as much as they wanted to enjoy it.
Now I'm jumping into this deep in. All right, let's go right out to the beginning, okay? All these.
What did you think of it? No, I don't want to go into anti-anything.
Can I
go into whether you liked it or not?
I liked the movie. I was in the audience. The audience absolutely jumped at this movie.
What movie theater do you go to? Because every movie is the same reaction from every audience. Man of Steel, BVS, they're all the same. Everybody loves the movies you go to. Everybody drinks before this movie.
Clearly they do. Well, when I go to the movies, here people are out to have a good time. And you know what? When people came out here, people have said this movie wasn't even going to make $100 million. They were downing this movie.
That's ridiculous.
Happen. But that's what they were doing. If you read the news and stuff,
they did have a projection that was going to go lower.
And all of a sudden, this movie made $155 million. It was the number one movie last week. It's going to be the number one movie this week. And it became $452 million worldwide. They were like, it's never going to do worldwide. And it did. $452 million? How can you take that back?
There's no reason to even pay attention to that. There was no way that movie was going to underperform to those numbers. That was just a bunch of people trolling, and we don't feed the trolls. We don't listen to the trolls.
Hindsight is 2020.
However, if we actually just concentrate on the film, again, this movie had everything going. This movie had everything going for it. Okay, in terms of name recognition, promotion, and the budget was low enough. So of course it was gonna. There was no way it was not going to make money. Especially now.
But I disagree with you because not a lot of people knew who Captain Marvel was.
Oh, that doesn't matter. Nobody knew who Suicide Squad was, and that movie did. That movie did numbers too because they were at the right time.
Harley Quinn was a much bigger character worldwide.
She's implanted in solid. Most people
don't
know
who Harley not doing Suicide Squad.
But getting into this movie, I gotta say, the beginning was a little slow. When they were just setting up. But this is an origin movie, and this is something naturally happens sometimes. You have to get into the characters, understand the scenes and stuff like that. Especially when it started off in the Kree world. Another thing that was great is we talked about the Skrulls. I mean, one of the biggest elements people have been talking about for many years in the Marvel universe was who? The Skrulls. And the Skrulls have finally showed up. They showed up in place. We didn't see them when the Avengers fought the Chitauri. I think that's who they were supposed to fight originally, but there were issues regarding Fantastic Four, who owned the rights, back then, I think Fox. But now Marvel owns everybody. They own Fox. They own
probably was
everybody.
An earlier trade.
Yeah, those weren't Skrulls. We have to call those like Skrullkin or something of those.
No,
nature.
They were thinking of
I don't care what they said.
Those
aren't Skrulls.
He's saying they're the Romulus Skrulls.
There you go. There you go. They're not. Those are not Skrulls.
Okay.
If you've read a comic book, those are not Skrulls.
Let's say they can change shapeshift, so they're Skrulls.
Okay, wait a second.
They're green. They got pointy ears. They're Skrulls.
Merlin the magician can shapeshift. He's not a Skrull.
But he's not green with pointy ears.
He can do whatever you want if you're. You can do whatever you want if you're shapeshift.
Okay, so.
Well, I think there's another level we can go with the Skrulls. We'll get back to the Skrulls. I think for me, the opening could have been a lot stronger. The visuals in the actual first minutes were very strong, but then it went to a training exercise, and I needed a big scene like the way we had a big scene in the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is basically an image that was in the comic book, but they really expanded it so much. And I think I would have cared more because this movie's about a big lie. And many movies had that the dynamic that the storytelling's like there's going to be a big lie that reveals what's going to happen next, and it's going to change and affect the character. That's her big character drama, is that this big lie is going to push her forward. And when we had the Kree, we need to have a bigger scene where we really care about the Kree. So when the big lie happens, we find out what's going on between this war, that we were like, oh no, but I like Jude Law's character, or I like, can you do it for me? Because we were struggling earlier with the pronunciation of, was it?
Yon-Rogg?
No, Djimon Hounsou.
Djimon Hounsou.
Okay.
Or also Russell Simmons' ex-wife, her ex-husband. Okay, Kimora Lee.
He couldn't. Oh man,
They're not together anymore.
That
No,
hurts.
She married.
It must be all that Marvel money he's getting. He's in enough of these movies.
Well, she was getting more. I think it was Morgan Stanley money because she married an investment
Another-
banker, and
another
now he got
multimillionaire?
busted for something else in Malaysia. So that's a whole nother.
Time to hawk some golden toilets. Okay.
Well, that's saying I just wanted a bigger moment so you care more when we find out this big lie. So, but when we finally get to the Skrulls, it's when they're going against Kree, and it's like we had some cool moments.
Yeah,
they're
they
on
did.
this planet. It's like, wow, they're doing it the way I think they should do it. They had them disguise themselves as Kree. They have this big thing. They capture Captain Marvel. We have our moment of drama. We're like, oh, okay, she's under the gun. Next, she's on the Kree, this Kree battle cruiser. And we have, the Skrull battle cruiser, and we got some action, some cool stuff.
Yeah, we got to beat the hell out of everybody.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The next scene is like, oh man, are we gonna get the Super Skrull? Maybe we're gonna get the Super Skrull. No, but
That's for the next movie. That's for the next movie.
I don't want to hear the next movie.
There's no need for the Super Skrull, not because these aren't Skrulls.
No, what
with
I'm
the
saying-
Skrull, yes,
You
from the
could've-
comics, a Super Skrull
Yes.
would be logical. Not these guys.
But he can be. If they're gonna do the change, then they're gonna change them because we had a bunch of them die. That was still a part of the war, and then we find that okay, they're this different types of a race. They could have had some relics from the war that one, they're like, we're not for this, we're for death, and the Super Skrull is still a part of the old war.
Yeah, okay.
But they didn't do that.
So look,
They ruined it.
They're not. Well, the other thing is that for us fans, this was a kind of a deal breaker. Because we've been watching the Kree Skrull War, everything they've done in Fantastic
Yeah,
Four.
how are they going to do that now?
of course they can.
No. Are you, see, Petey said this before, okay? When you come to the film, okay, you got to put away stuff like, okay, I usually put aside, okay, New York stuff, Brooklyn Boy, this, and I am first and foremost a comic guy. Everything else comes third. First and foremost, a comic guy. So now I'm coming in here and I'm watching this stuff, and if the movie's solid, okay, and if the movie's solid, the story's tight, there's a lot of stuff I can just say, okay, this is a different universe, but the movie wasn't.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at it, and the Skrulls were born out of the Skrulls were born out of the Cold War with the whole spy and everything of that nature. These are the ultimate spies. They can be anybody. You could be talking to your wife, and she's a Skrull. You don't know. They can keep
So
playing
that's
that up.
movie. So what is I'm missing the point.
They
So-
took that away from the film. These are not.
no.
These are not these
Okay.
guys. These are not these impossible enemies to have to deal with. These are guys who just want to find a home.
Right,
There's no reason for them to
Right.
be that stuff
And-
anymore.
and-
No,
that's-
before you
that's-
go, I'm going to speak in big business terms. Because me and Cal are 80% comic book guys, 20% Brooklyn boys. Right here, he's 20% Brooklyn boy and
What?
80% megalomania. So if you're that big business, you want your Skrulls to be dominating, destroying, taking over worlds.
Yes.
Right? And even when they lost their home world, they
was-
were still spread out, taking over worlds.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
a big deal because they could be. These guys could be a cat. They could be a bleeding refrigerator if they wanted to, okay?
Right.
And there was no way to know. The only way to find out they were a Skrull is you would have had to engage, kill them, and then when you go to your refrigerator, it's like, my goodness, my refrigerator was a Skrull? That's the best refrigerator I've ever had.
Oh, well,
So
the
they-
other thing is that they're small wormy guys, right? So you've got a cop versus small wormy guy, and they transform into a huge monster and
Yeah.
kill the cop. So this is in terms, now what do you feel about the Skrulls?
No,
now what do you
I
feel?
totally agree with what you guys are saying about
Okay,
the
that's
movie.
what we said on tape. That's
but
what I
that's
wanna
what
hear.
we're saying, but that's what we're thinking about in comic book. But we're talking about in this movie. Do they work as the Skrulls in this movie? And the answer is yes. Do they? The main thing people know about the Skrulls is that they shapeshift, and they can insinuate themselves into different things. Does that work? Yes. Does that element when the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. is guiding people and he's talking to Fury in the elevator and Fury's telling him, he realizes this is a Skrull, but the very fact that he's trying to talk talk to the guy and work with him. It's pretty funny. He does a great job. We also see this particular Skrull when he's in the ship, when he's interrogating Captain Marvel, right? He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know, the only difference is that this story has changed, whereby the Skrull is the second large evil empire. They have just been, I guess they've lost the war to the Kree. So look, let's wrap this up, guys, in terms of, let's break it down, specific items that we like or dislike. Starting number one, the Kree. What do you guys think about the Kree?
They messed them up.
I think they needed
In terms of the
more
story.
time. As I
Jude
said,
Law,
I think they needed more
See,
time.
I
with
came
them.
in,
Jude Law.
and I don't know if his name was ever said or if I missed it, that they actually called him Yanrog at any point before, but they didn't mention his,
They
I didn't hear
didn't-
it,
they didn't
I didn't hear a name. So for the longest time, I'm thinking that's Marvel.
Yeah.
Then, you know, when they decide, oh no, this is a big switch, I felt cheated. I was like, you kidding me? I said, I've been sitting here this entire time. I'm thinking this is Marvel, this is Yanbrog, and then who's Marvel? Annette Benning is Marvel?
Yes.
You ruined
come
it.
on. And
Well, you
Annette
see, the thing
Bening
is, you
is
didn't
one
know
of my
about it, but-
favorites. I can't
Right, but you
seeing
see-
her on film. Don't turn around like I didn't say anything. Annette Bening is one of my favorite actresses. I don't believe it worked as it, but maybe she's a relative
You're
of Marvel.
damn right it didn't work.
Maybe
Well,
she's a
look,
relative
the thing
of
is
Marvel,
that-
and she was very fun as the Supreme Intelligence.
And what
even
do we
though
lose?
I'd rather see the real.
And what do we lose in terms of the story? Because Marvel is actually from the Kree. The Kree are this incredibly powerful race of aliens. These guys have a home world. Okay, that's not Earth. Like, oh, this is my home. No, home world, meaning we have other worlds. Marvel comes to Earth, and he's so taken with Earth that he's like, you know what? I'm not going to do what I was supposed to do over here because I really think these guys are cool, and I'm actually going to fight against my own people. I'm adopting this world. This world's going to be on my protection. Almost some Superman type like stuff. We don't get any of that or any reason to be, like Petey said, we don't get any reason to be attached to the Kree. We just get, by the end of it, I mean, even from that first scene where she's looking and the person's shooting, you know that this person isn't a Skrull, that it's going to have to be some sort of twist, because if not, it would be very clear who she did it. We know her memory's bad. But there's no connection to any point in any of the Kree that we saw where we would think, okay, fine, these guys are actually fighting, you know, these guys are actually on the good side, you know, they're fighting the good fight. And, you know, there's some really good stories that could still have been tapped in terms of the Kree Skull War or Captain Marvel's own story. And you decided some of the decision making in terms of the changes. And I have to say changes because this is not an original story. This is born out of the comics.
Yeah.
So you decided to make these particular changes. Why did you have to change Marvel? What was wrong with his story that you couldn't do what was done in the comic because you spent enough time? This wasn't an improvement.
But like
What was
he
wrong
said-
with his story that you couldn't have just
Like
done
Peter
that
said,
story?
This is the story they wanted to tell. The question is, do you like the story? You're inputting so much from the comics.
I'm answering the question.
No, but I'm just saying this happens in all different stories. They've changed what Infinity War, how it was going to be. They've changed that.
And that worked.
But the story was generally still acceptable. Some people have problems with some of the elements.
But you got to be, you have to be fair. If this is an original story out of whole cloth, okay. But this is not an original story out of whole cloth. So if the story doesn't succeed with me, especially since I read the original story, I think that's a fair question. Why did you make these
But it's a
particular
fair question,
changes?
but the question is, you out of what, 100,000 people or 200,000
So I don't
people-
care? I don't rate because it's 100,000 other people?
200,000 people, while millions are going to see the movie.
Oh
They're
no,
not changing
no,
the
it's a,
difference.
it's a,
We've had that
it's,
discussion
I'm saying
before.
it's a.
There
valid-
goes big business again.
Okay, no.
You don't,
No.
you don't matter. You didn't
No,
like
no.
this film. You
No.
don't matter.
As the
And I'm not
co-
going to lie, yes, that's the truth, okay?
I'm
Because
saying-
I'm being fair
I
and
don't-
balanced.
I don't think that the point needs to be debated. I think it's a strong point that the comic stories were very strong and it wasn't necessary. I'm saying the fact that you've enjoyed, you can't. I don't think you should knock over his point.
I'm not
with
knocking his point. I'm
with
just saying that
how
the
many people
reality-
like. I'm saying
the
for
reality
for the
is that-
kids, for the kids, yes. For
Yeah,
the
next
kids,
it'll be the
yes.
money.
For the kids, yes.
Stacking it, baby, stacking it.
All right. For the kids, yes. This is, and if they go in and enjoy it, we're pointing out the aspects of the story that didn't necessarily need to be changed. And I'm just saying, for me, you know, as far as the Skrulls was the hardest thing to deal with, but at the same time, I'm just saying, make that first scene something that you care about a whole lot. And I did care about it a little bit, but then I was like saying, I needed one more challenge for her. And the challenge is she's flying, you know, towards the end, she's falling out of the sky, and then she gets her real power. And I'm like, well, that's not really, you know, she's going to survive. And it's like, but ultimately, once they got to the scene where where she's talking to Maria Rambeau, and I'm feeling the connection here, and this is what I wanted, something to really care about. And I wish that we had that early on.
So we're going to get back to the Maria
Oh,
Ram,
God.
the Rambo
Here we
stuff.
go.
So number 2, we want to discuss. What did you guys think about the fact, and this is the biggest reveal, that her power is from the Tesseract, which explains why she's the most according to Kevin Feige, who's the head of
Oh,
Marvel
God,
Studios,
let's not
who's
get
the
into-
most
I did not
powerful
wanna
guy
get into
among-
that.
What do you think about
No,
that?
no,
Let's-
no,
let's-
no,
let's call it what
no,
it is, baby.
because that's
Is she the
what-
most powerful or is she not?
That's where all that
I
trolling.
don't
That's where all
wanna
that
hear
trolling
about
started.
How powerful she is. Sorry to say, I
but
don't
she
want
is
to
the
hear
power
that.
of one of the gems of the Infinity Stone.
sorry.
See, I don't know about all that either.
But
okay?
that's what they're
No.
saying.
No.
They changed it up.
'Cause I saw I saw the film. I'm pretty sure of what I saw, and I don't want to get into a back and forth over it. I'm just going to say I don't think that's quite it. That being said, as much as I may not want to say it, hey, after seeing everything she did in the film, how could you not say she's the most powerful figure at this point? She's turning back nukes. She's blasting through spaceships. She accomplished in one movie what it took like characters like Iron Man, like 4 or 5 movies to get to. Okay, this is my most powerful suit of armor. All she had to do was all she had to do was control herself and stop losing her temper. And she's getting a whole fleet turned back. So now I'm like, okay, so when we get to Endgame, we don't really need the rest of these characters. You guys can sit this out. Just give me Captain Marvel, maybe Thor, and that's it. I don't really need anybody else.
Well, that's the
Thank
thing.
you. I'm with you there.
I'm-
Finally, I'm shocked.
Black Widow, get in the kitchen.
Hey. That's
All
one of my
right.
favorite characters.
I'm just gonna go to say, like, if you have this thing when she hasn't been challenged that much, and if you go to Iron Man, there's a moment where he has a change in his character where he's challenged. He's in the, he makes the original suit, and he has to change from what he was to what he is. The same with Thor. Same with the Black Panther dying, and this character hasn't had that moment of this. She just went through the big lie, and that if I go to the next movie or the next movie, I want to see something where she's really challenged. They put her through something where she has to really not just struggle where she beats the person, where they take her and they break the person down. Because all the Marvel characters have gone through this and have suffered losses and struggles and gone to the next. Not necessarily Ragnarok, because Ragnarok is different because it didn't really. But the first Thor, when Thor can't lift his hammer, that's a powerful moment. And he's very confident all that. And this is the hubris that made him lose the hammer. And we get this moment, because every time I go back to the original Thor, it gets better and better as I watch it. I think there's an
Is that
element.
with the wine or without the wine? Just wanted to make sure,
Very
because
good, very good. But I'm saying the moments of heroism, this part of the story, even have the full costume, because I'm thinking of Ragnarok, they had the helmet. No, this one, they had the real helmet.
Yeah, the real one.
They had the real helmet in the early parts of the film. So
Not the one you cut out of paper, printed off the internet helmet.
So I think that if you're going forward, I don't want to see her. All right, we just added in a stronger character that can beat up Thanos while he has the gauntlet, and then we have the answer.
Yeah,
Because
we know who
that's
that
not what
character-
Marvel Comics is about.